how to choose the right cannabis product. There's a lot of products in the cannabis industry now. There's hemp CBD products, there's THC products. You can smoke, vape, orally consume, rub on your skin. With so many different options, how do you figure out what's going to work best for you? In this video, we're going to go over 2 considerations and 4 things to look for, so you have more clarity on how cannabis works and you can select the right product so you can get the experience you're looking for. So starting out, there's 2 considerations that are the most important to start with. So number 1, what's the use case? What are you looking to use this cannabis product for? And the second one, what experience do you have with this kind of cannabis product? Both of those things are really important and will help you narrow down what cannabis product or what type of product might work best. Also, when you go into a dispensary and you're talking to a bud tender, share those 2 things with them. That'll really help them kind of pick what product might work best for you. So again, what do you want to use the product for? Is it during the day, something to be a little more uplifting, or maybe something at night to be a little more relaxing, or even possibly help sleep through the night? Is going to change what product you select, and then what experience level you have with that product is really going to decide where you should start. Start low and go slow, or if you've consumed a similar product a couple of times, you probably have a better idea of what dose or how much to take. 4 things to look for when you're going to select a cannabis product. The first thing is what type of cannabis product. Like we mentioned earlier, there's lots of different forms and products that include cannabis in them, and each one has a little bit different effect or experience that you might get when consuming them. So 2 main things we're going to talk about when selecting a cannabis product is the onset of effects and the duration of effects. So onset is how quickly do you feel the effects of that product, and duration is how long do those effects last. Both of those can be really important depending on what you're doing and what you're looking to use the product for. We did another video on cannabis consumption methods where we go really deep into the different consumption methods like orally consuming an edible versus smoking cannabis flower and how those different methods affect the experience you'll get. So let's start with smoking flower or vaping an extract, as those 2 are fairly similar. The onset for consuming a cannabis product that way will be the quickest, as quick as 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, maybe even less time. You'll start to feel the effects from smoking or vaping. And the duration is also the shortest for that consumption method. So with smoking or vaping, you may feel those effects for an hour and a half, 2.5, maybe 3 hours at the longest. So smoking and vaping have the fastest onset, but the shortest duration. On the other end of the spectrum are edibles. So when you orally consume an edible, they have the slowest onset time, but also the longest duration. So you're looking at 30 to 45 minutes, maybe as long as 2 hours to feel the full effects of an edible. But the duration will last a lot longer. So for an edible, depending on the dose you take, the effects could last 2 to 3 hours, all the way up to 5 or 6 hours, and maybe even longer if you consume a large amount. And there is one group of products that are in between edibles and smoking or vaping, and those products you consume sublingually. That means under the tongue. They don't go through the digestive tract in the body. They actually are consumed through the mucus glands. So a tincture is a type of product that can be consumed sublingually. Also, any edibles that would melt in your mouth that you could maybe put under your tongue and would dissolve can also be consumed sublingually. And when you consume that way, the onset and the duration is pretty much right in between an edible versus smoking and vaping. The second one is the THC dose. We also have a video on consuming the right THC dose, and that is the most important thing to get right when you're consuming an edible product. Everything else, your CBD or your terpenes, you've got a little more wiggle room in those and how much you can consume. So start with THC. If you're a brand new consumer, start really low for an edible, 5 milligrams, maybe even less than that. And for smoking flower or vaping, 1 hit, and wait a while thinking about the onset of those effects and duration before you even consider consuming more. And that's why experience use is also important. If you've consumed edibles multiple times or smoked or vaped, you probably know what effects you might experience. And then it comes to THC dose, you can predict a little bit better how much you should consume. The third thing to look for, what terpene profile is in that product. So terpenes are the secondary compounds in cannabis. We also have another video diving deeper into what terpenes are. They're basically responsible for the nuanced effects you get from consuming cannabis. So whether something's uplifting or more stimulating or relaxing and calming is going to be largely influenced by what terpenes are in that product. Start to look for those on the products that you buy. Cannabis flower is tested for terpenes. Some or most companies now are also putting that on their extract vape cartridges. Some edible companies are doing that as well. If you try a product that you notice is uplifting, try to figure out what terpenes were in that product. And when you buy a product in the future, you can then look for those same terpenes if the use case you're looking for is to have more of a uplifting, energetic, stimulating experience, and vice versa. If something's calming or more relaxing, if you can figure out what terpenes were responsible for those effects you experience, you can then look for those same terpenes in other products that you might buy in the future. The fourth and final thing to consider when selecting a cannabis product is, are you going to purchase a hemp CBD product or a THC product? We have another video diving into cannabinoids, THC, CBD, but to keep it short and simple, THC is the cannabinoid that's responsible for that euphoric high effect or experience that cannabis is known for. And then CBD is non-psychoactive and more around relief or possibly medicinal benefits, and has been in the news a lot lately. When it comes to hemp CBD products, if you're in a state that doesn't have a legal program, those products can be purchased online and delivered across state lines and delivered right to your home, which is a really great opportunity to use cannabis if you're not in a state that is legalized yet. Hemp CBD products should have 0 THC or very little THC. Now that could be a concern if you're drug tested. So if you could potentially be drug tested, look for a hemp CBD product that specifically says 0 THC. If you might not get drug tested, a product with a little bit of THC in there can actually help boost the effects of the CBD and just overall the experience that you'll have when consuming that product. And all those other factors we mentioned will still apply. We did another video on hemp CBD products that you should go check out if you're going to buy something online. Right now there's less regulations and oversight, so you really have to be careful about what products you buy and what companies you purchase from. In the other video we made, we give you some tips and strategies how to either ask the right questions or look for keys that will be important to getting a quality product, because there are some companies out there that are just looking to make money, doesn't have the CBD content that it says it does, might not be lab tested, which is an issue, but there's also a lot of really reputable companies that are making a great product. So be a little more careful when buying hemp CBD products in a state or having those delivered to your home.